Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra are both great examples of creativity, animation, direction, voice acting, storytelling, and philosophical messages in a kids' show. But one thing in particular brings all these aspects together to make the shows as amazing as they are, and that is the characters. And today, I'll be going over my top 10 best characters from the Avatar universe. Number 10, Jinora. Daughter of Tenzin and granddaughter of Aang, Jinora becomes one of the most morally sound characters in The Legend of Korra by becoming a very mature airbender for her age. She is wise and brave beyond her years, and proves that she is just as capable as any of the adults in the show. Number 9, Tenzin. Tenzin is the only naturally born airbender child of Aang, and because of this, follows in his father's footsteps by trying to preserve airbending culture and expand it as much as possible. Throughout The Legend of Korra, he learns to become his own person instead of being stuck in the shadow of Aang's legacy. He is also cool-headed and even-mannered a majority of the time, making him a great counterpart to be a mentor for the hot-headed, impulsive Korra. Number 8, Azula. A firebending prodigy and Zuko's sister, Azula is an incredibly intimidating presence throughout the course of The Last Airbender. She is ruthless and narcissistic in her endeavors to impress her father, but we also see a different side of her, especially in Season 3. In regular life, she is barely functioning in any social situation, never being able to turn off the wannabe ruler inside of her. We also learn about her insecurity when it comes to her mother, hating that her mother was afraid of her and never gave her the love she desired. Even when she actually has absolute power, her personality devolved into paranoia and instability. For a villain, she's much more complicated than we ever could have thought. Number 7, Sokka. The only non-bender in the main group of The Last Airbender, Sokka is the sarcastic comic relief most of the time. He also sees himself as the leader of the group and the normal guy, and is constantly coming up with plans. A good chunk of the time, the plans may not work, but when they do, they are often brilliant. Even with his goofy personality, Sokka proves himself to be a natural leader and braver than most people could ever dream to be. Number 6, Katara. The only waterbender in the Southern Water Tribe, Katara accidentally discovers Aang and releases him into the modern world 100 years after he was trapped in an iceberg. The heart and moral compass of the show, she naturally goes towards the right thing to do even if she has to sacrifice her personal desires. She becomes Aang's first teacher and main love interest. While she is a naturally talented waterbender and becomes the best healer in the world, by the twilight years of her life, she isn't perfect. She is also prone to jealousy and competitiveness, making for a funny dynamic between herself and the main group. Number 5, Korra. Aang's successor as the Avatar, Korra starts out in The Legend of Korra as a hot-headed, impulsive young adult with natural talent but little restraint. She is burdened with Aang's legacy as the Avatar, since he was able to change the world for the better and people expect her to hold that standard in a new era. Throughout the show, she learns to become less self-centered and more focused on her purpose as the Avatar. With new villains every season, it could be argued that she is put through more hardships than any of the other characters in the Avatar universe. From having her bending stripped from her to being poisoned nearly to death and being disconnected from her past Avatar lives to be left alone for the first time as an Avatar, she has always remained resilient against the most formidable dangers thrown at her. Number 4, Toph. The character to break most stereotypes, Toph is a tiny 12-year-old blind girl from an overprotective, rich family who just so happens to be the best earthbender in the world. She comes across as a hard-headed and sarcastic most of the time, but also has a poignant vulnerability about her when it comes to her friends. She also makes for one of the most entertaining characters to watch in the show, using earthbending in insanely creative ways, even being the first person to develop metal bending. Toph as a person sends a great message to kids watching, because even though she is disabled, she is one of the strongest characters in the show. Number 3, Zuko. A prince exiled from the Fire Nation, Zuko starts his journey by hunting down the Avatar to reclaim his honor. After some successes and many failures, he slowly realizes that the thing he desires the most is not something that can be given to him, let alone something he actually wants. While he does spend most of the series as a dangerous foe to Aang and the main group, he finds his own way and purpose in life by realizing his father is ultimately just evil. Even with a couple trip-ups on the way, his true nature for compassion makes its way through, leading him to eventually join the main group and become Aang's firebending teacher, giving the show arguably its best redemption arc for any character. Number 2, Aang. What would this list be without our titular protagonist for Avatar: The Last Airbender? When we first meet Aang, we find out that he's an incredibly gifted airbender and knows his future of being an avatar. However, his more childlike qualities shine through and sometimes hinder him, such as his sense of humor and fun, along with his understandable fear in regards to the circumstances that he is in. Just in comparison to the first and last episode of the series, Aang matures an insane amount in a little more than a year. He embraces his role as savior of the world, even though he doesn't want it, and learns the 4 elements. Even knowing what his role entails, especially when confronting Ozai, he still chooses the way of non-violence, staying consistent with his philosophies, when everyone tells him that he basically has to execute someone to win. He finds another way that'll still be successful but won't break his own moral code. He always chooses to ultimately be good in the face of necessary evil. And there are several great characters throughout the course of the Avatar series, but they all can't be in this list, so here are my honorable mentions.
I've seen your type before. Probably sarcastic, think you're hilarious, and let me guess, you're traveling with the Avatar.
Do I know you?
You mean you don't remember? Maybe you remember this. Mwah.
Suki!
Let go your earthly tether.
Release the Avatar.
Enter the void.
This is your last warning.
Empty and become wind.
No! Stop!
Tell me where the Avatar is, and I let you keep your bending.
I won't tell you anything, you monster.
Very well.
Number 1, Iroh. Even though he was a feared general and sole heir to the throne, it's established that Iroh still had the compassionate heart that we see throughout The Last Airbender, especially in comparison to his brother. Tasked with guiding Zuko in his quest to find Aang, Iroh constantly teaches Zuko how to be a better person and think for himself, which becomes the catalyst for Zuko's eventual change of heart. Constantly cracking jokes and sharing philosophical proverbs, Iroh generally comes across as an incredibly kind character, even with his Fire Nation reputation. Later on, we learn that a big reason for his kind personality is because he got his own son killed in the siege of Ba Sing Se. This is an immense guilt that he obviously carries with himself afterwards and tries to atone for in becoming a father figure for Zuko and choosing a pacifistic lifestyle by wanting to open a tea shop. And even when he does have to fight, he's shown to be very experienced and powerful and frankly kind of a badass. He even carries his personal philosophy for kindness and compassion beyond his death by moving his soul into the spirit world and becoming a guide for Korra and Jinora. And by the end of all this, Iroh becomes probably the wisest character in the show. And all these things come together to make Iroh, in my opinion, the most interesting character in the Avatar universe. Now, what did you guys think of my list? Did you agree or disagree? Who's your favorite character from the Avatar universe? Let me know, and I'll be back with another video.